Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Now, although you see me driving to work here, you may hear birds and sounds in the background. The reason is because I decided to voice over this video because when I initially recorded it in my vehicle, it was extremely noisy because of the bumps. Alright, so I hope that you enjoy the sounds of the birds and nature instead of just bumps and the grinding of the wheels or the tires on the road. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what I want to talk about today is that things are not going to go back to the way that they used to be, or quote unquote, as we know as normal. Why is it important for us to know this from a preparedness point of view? So let me tell you what I think. Now, this can easily turn into a series of why I think things are not going to go back to normal. So for this first part, I decided to choose the economy because the economy plays a very important part on how we can live the standard of living that we are used to living. Now, the economy will not bounce back in a what's being called a V-shaped recovery, meaning that we've hit a bottom and then very quickly afterwards, we're going to be right back to where we were before. Why is that? Well, ladies and gentlemen, currently most businesses are relying on the government to help them get through this crisis. But a large percentage of those businesses, even though they're getting some kind of help, they will not be reopening. You've already seen the headlines. Hertz filing for bankruptcy. Hertz even set up a website where they are selling their entire fleet of used vehicles. If you're looking for a used vehicle now, get on the Hertz website and see what they're selling. You may find something that you're looking for at a very reasonable price. I actually got on there and I can tell you that the prices are very reasonable. Economists say that it's going to take until about 2023 for the U.S. to get back to full employment. And the full employment rate is about 4.5%. And I personally think that is very optimistic. I think that is very optimistic, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, if you were to take all of the unemployment that has been added to our previous, I think it was 3.7, 3.9% unemployment, there's more than 41 million people that have filed new unemployment claims in the last, I think, 5 or 6 weeks. You take that 41 million and you add it to the 7 to 9 million that were previously unemployed before this crisis even started, we're looking at about 50 million people unemployed that are being counted as being unemployed. With a workforce of approximately 156 million prior to this health crisis, the workforce now lies at about 120 million. We have more than 43 million people who are currently unemployed, on top of the ones that were unemployed prior to this crisis. And that unemployment number, ladies and gentlemen, does not account for the roughly 117 million people that are not being counted as part of their labor force because they have either given up looking for work or their unemployment benefits have run out and they've been dropped from the actual unemployment number. So when we add all of these numbers together, I would say that more than half of the people that are currently living in the United States are unemployed. And even worse, more than half of the actual people that are within the working age that live here in the U.S. are unemployed. And that's a big number, ladies and gentlemen. I personally think that this is going to last a decade or more before we actually get to a point that was equal to where we were at this time last year. And that's if we're lucky. Right now, a projection of 30% contraction of GDP during the second quarter is what we hear in the media. However, what is not being told to the public is what are the secondary and tertiary effects that a 30% contraction produces besides the obvious large scale of business closures and unemployments. You see, the less economic activity that occurs in the real economy, not the stock market, that's fake, but the less economic activity that occurs in the real economy, the lower that the velocity of money is. And for those of you that don't know what the velocity of money is, it is the rate at which the dollar or currencies are exchanged within a community. And the lower that the velocity of money is, the less tax revenue that is generated. And why does that matter, ladies and gentlemen? Many of you may be saying, well, that's good that it's less taxes are being collected because now the government doesn't need all that. Maybe the government will go ahead and get smaller and be more efficient with the money that they take from us. Okay, that can be one point of view. But the problem is this. The less money that the government takes in, the more it will borrow or have the Federal Reserve create out of thin air. And why does that matter? The more money the government borrows, the more that you and I are in the hook for when it comes to future taxes that will be collected in order to pay back interest on this debt that they're creating. You see, ladies and gentlemen, when we say that the dollar is not backed by anything, we are wrong. And I've been wrong for a long time, thinking the same thing. The dollar is backed by something. The Federal Reserve note is backed by all the goods and services in the economy. And that is a quote from the Federal Reserve page if you guys go to thefederalreserve.org. Now let me ask you something. If the Federal Reserve note is backed by all the goods and services in the economy, who produces the goods and services in the economy? You and me. Therefore, the dollar is backed up by your labor, it's backed up by my labor, it is backed up by the labor of everyone in this country. That is what is backing up the dollar, ladies and gentlemen. That is why you're one of these people that takes out the law books and says, show me in the book where it says that I have to pay taxes. If you're one of those people that goes to court because you refuse to pay taxes, because nowhere in the IRS code or nowhere in any law does it say that you and I have to pay income tax. If you're one of those people, you'll find yourself in prison unless you decide to play ball. In addition, the money the government creates out of thin air, the more that the dollar that have been earned through your labor will be diluted and therefore devalued. Meaning that you will be able to purchase less with the money that you earned in the past, that you're earning in the present, and the money that you're saving for the future. Your income will not keep up with inflation. This happens all the time. Look at history. Back in the late 60s, late 50s, what have you, a year's salary used to buy you a home. Now, how many years' salary does it take to buy the average home? The average salary in the U.S. is around 42, 45 grand, something like that. Divide that into the average cost of a home in the U.S., which I believe is around $280,000. I'm not sure if that figure is a little outdated or not, but it's a lot more than one, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? It's why your Social Security checks are going to buy you less and less every year, because the numbers that the government comes up with for inflation is totally unrealistic. They say, okay, we're going to give you a 1 or 2% cost of living allowance because of inflation this year to your Social Security check. But in all reality, when you go to the store, everything has gone up 10, 15%. Just look at what has happened to the price of foods in the last 2 months. Sure, that has something to do with shortages because of this crisis, but I'm sure it also has to do with the inflation of the monetary supply that has been added to the monetary base in this nation. Ladies and gentlemen, things are only going to get more expensive. Someone will always pop in and say, well, I bought a flat screen TV for a lot cheaper than I could have bought one 10 years ago. When I say things are going to get more expensive, it's this. Things that you need to live. Gas, food, clothes, houses, all right, lodging, wherever it is that you're going to live, those things are going to become more expensive, and they're going to stay expensive. Now, how do we prepare for this? Now, remember, I'm not a financial advisor, but I would say that the number one thing I would do is to do my best to get out of debt. Debt is nothing but a chain hooked to your ankle, not letting you progress. It's what it is. When I bought my vehicle a few years back, I decided to buy it because I could pay for it very quickly. I did take out a loan for it, but I paid for it like in 6 months. And the interest rate was extremely low. It was like 3% for a 16-year-old vehicle, granted, or at that time it was like a 14-year-old vehicle. I knew that there were going to be expenses relating to the upkeep of the vehicle, but I asked myself this question: would I rather have a $1,500, $2,000 a year maintenance expense on this vehicle that's an older vehicle, or would I rather have a $700, $800 a month payment for the next 60 to 72 months? I obviously chose the first option. The second thing that I would do is have an emergency fund. Don't get caught with your pants down, ladies and gentlemen. If you're going to work and you get a flat tire, have a little bit set aside to get that flat tire fixed. There's 1,000 reasons why you should have a small emergency fund. Personally, I think that 3 months worth of living expenses, just living expenses, what it costs you to pay your light bill, your gas bill, your mortgage if you have a mortgage, all right, just a 2 or 3 month worth of living expenses. Imagine how much that would help. Imagine how much that would have helped a lot of the people that are in a bad situation now because of what started happening here 3-4 months ago. If you have not done so already, extend your pantry to a point that it can sustain you and your family for several months or longer. This is the basics. This is the very beginning of prepping. Anyone that's starting to want to become prepared, first thing I tell them to do is extend your pantry. And then they ask me what, and we take it to the next level. So extend your pantry. If you cannot extend your pantry for 3, 4, 6 months with the regular things that you eat out of your pantry, then take, for example, a video that I put out, I don't know if it was a few months ago or so, but where you can eat for 30 days for $30. Get an emergency stash. If you don't have the money to extend your pantry out 6 months, spend $30 or spend $100 and go out and buy some rice and beans and package it for long term. That way you are at least assured to have some nutrition should you run out of funds and should you run out of food that's in your regular pantry. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are able to hold real things instead of holding a large wad of fiat currency, which is what we like to call money, by the way, hold real things instead. I just said to have an emergency fund. Yes, that's for an immediate emergency fund. But hold some things instead of money that you know you will need in the future. If you know that next year around this time you're going to need a second set of tires or a new set of tires for your vehicle, if you can afford to buy them today, buy them today. Because prices, in my opinion, are only going to go up. And not just on basics, but on pretty much everything. Learn skills that have real value, like carpentry, plumbing, gardening, etc. Make yourself valuable to someone else. I've always said everyone has a special skill set that is unique to them. Search for that skill set that is unique to you and expand on it. Ladies and gentlemen, when it's all said and done, we, the middle and lower class, will all be poorer. We will earn less in real terms and have less freedoms than we had in the past. When the string pullers say, "Don't let a good crisis go to waste," they mean it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is just one of the reasons why I think that things will not return to what we know as normal. Let me know if you would like me to expand on this and maybe do another one from a different perspective, because I have a few in mind that I can definitely expand on. I truly do hope that you are all preparing, and I hope that you have a great day and rest of your week, being that this is actually Friday, but I'll probably be posting this on Saturday. All right. So thank you very much for joining in. I know this was somewhat of a doom and gloom video, ladies and gentlemen, but the truth doesn't wait for anyone. What is, and what will be, will be. So get prepared. So remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place. And you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. This is Alaska Prepper, and I am out.